So today we're going to be talking about gun control, but we're going to be doing it on a different perspective from what most people have come to know about the arguments of gun control. I think today one of the biggest things that's important when it comes to the argument of gun control is it comes down to almost like a division factor, and I think that people think that it can be either one side or the other. And when if you're on one side, you can't have anything to do with the other side. And if you're for it, you can't go against it. If you're against it, you can't have nothing to do with going for it. So I think what needs to happen is there needs to be a more of like a I guess a level playing ground when it comes to talking about gun control, if that makes any sense. Um, I think that people that are against gun control need to be able to take on perspectives of people that are for gun control and be able to compromise and take in their views. Where I think now it's so much of if someone disagrees with the other side, then it's like I don't want nothing to do with you, your arguments, or what you stand for. And I think that's a big problem because that really creates more division and it creates more of an argumentative field when it comes to talking about gun control when it should be us talking civilly and actually proposing change and going for new change. And when people that are for gun control hear anything at all that has to do with people that are against gun control, they're like, you're a buffoon. I don't want to talk to you about this topic because obviously you don't know anything about the topic, which I think is a big problem. So, some of the steps that I think that we should take when going forward with gun control is number one. I think the biggest thing is social media division. I think that we need to have more in-person conversations, more in-person, public meetings, stuff like that, school meetings, anything about gun control. Because right now, I feel like 90% of the things I see about gun control is on the internet and on social media platforms, and people there, it's just not. I don't know. There's something about being on over a screen where it doesn't seem like it's right. And I feel like being in person, that's when people can really, take out people's passion, really have, you know, like civil arguments and respect one another's opinions. Whereas on social media, it's like it's just people, gunning back and forth with one another, and it really creates a hostile environment. Number two, I think that we need to like educate people on the topic of gun control because what is gun control? You can't just say gun control and not and I mean it's just a broad term. Like what does it mean? And I think that having like more educational sessions on gun control would be very beneficial to people that want to know more about it. So that'd be the number two step, and number three would be proposing actual change. Coming together, both sides, coming together and saying, "Hey, this is the problem. This is what we need, and this is how we move forward into the future." For instance, I think that one of the biggest problems um, is background checks. And I know it sounds silly, but you got people getting guns and stuff that should be able to get guns. I think that we should raise the gun age purchasing to 21. I don't think people in high school should be able to purchase guns. We got all these emotional imbalances, and you never know. You never know what you're going to get into. And a lot of times people make decisions in high school that they regret. And, if someone makes a decision, that one decision can end someone's life. And then, it's just downhill from there. I don't think people in high school need to be able to go to a gun store by themselves and purchase a gun. Now, if you're in high school and, your father has a firearm, you should be able to have your license and shoot his firearm with his supervision. But I don't think you should be able to go buy a gun while you're still in high school and, have free control over it. Not because people aren't able to hold guns and use guns and fire guns with like all the safety precautions in the world. I just think that people, I think that that one person that uses that gun for something else, I think it's worth it to not have people buying guns in high school. And I'm not trying to take the guns out of the hands of people in high school because they can still use guns. They can still use the guns that their father, that their parents have, grandfather. Um, But other than that, I don't think it's necessary for people in high school to be going out buying firearms, especially when you got a lot of big firearms for sale. You know, you got AR-15s for sale. You got big shotties for sale. You got a lot of like high capacity pistols. You know, it's just not. I don't understand why someone needs to be buying that in high school. So I think raising the age to 21 is a good idea when it comes to moving forward with how are we gonna do this? How are we gonna move forward with this with the gun control argument? Another thing that I think is very important is I think we need to up the police force, especially around schools. I know it sounds crazy. Some people will always say to me, like when I bring this up, they're always like, no, we need to. Why do we need cops around schools? Like that sounds ridiculous. You know, why would you need a cop around school? And it does sound ridiculous, but you know what? Would you rather have some cops around schools? You know, and that sounds ridiculous, or would you rather save the lives of a potential situation that happens just because you have a cop there on the campus? And I know that there are cops right now on campus, but I don't think they're trained enough. I think you need to have, well-trained cops on campus that are ready to respond to a situation if need be. And especially with the way, even though there's only been a few situations where there's been gun violence on campus, I still think that it's worth it to have well-trained cops on campus ready to respond to a situation. Another thing is, I think that the whole argument of there was 18 school shootings since I think January. I think that's ridiculous. There's been three acts of gun violence on campuses that actually were someone going with the intent of violence on school grounds. The other how many? The other 15 were instances of someone shot a gun and they were technically on school campus, but they had nothing to do with the school. There was one where someone went up and accidentally discharged a police firearm. There was one, and the other ones are some where people have, committed suicide on campus with a gun. It's not, so when people say there's 18 school shootings, that's ridiculous. There's 3 where people have actually, were at a school with a gun with the intent of violence. So those are just a few of the steps that I think we should take when talking about gun control, and we're going to be talking about more in the future.